Do you really pay attention to what is happening around you? Or do you go around as a bundle of emotions so that everything you encounter along the way, you respond with the emotions? And of course your emotions block you completely from really seeing what is going on around you. Well, we have reached that place where it is critical that you hold off your emotions at least for a little while and you start to pay attention. We have reached that place where suddenly the beach is dry for miles as far as the eye can see. Boats are stuck on the sand. The birds are not singing, they're flown away. We need to pay attention because you know, at least most of us know, in such a scenario, what is coming. Okay? A tsunami. And so as we're paying attention, what are we looking for? Because we're looking carefully, we're looking for that thing which is off. Something which is strange, does not make sense under normal circumstances. That is what we're looking for. And indeed there is a lot in the motherland that is just off. Yeah? If we put our emotions aside for just a little while. And actually it is amazing. Just amazing how many things are completely off. Okay? For instance, William Samoei Ruto was sworn in on the 13th of September 2022. And so today, it is not yet 3 years. Now just wrap your minds around that fact. It is not yet 3 years. And what has happened within this short time? What has happened? Do you know, so many analysts compare the presidency of Ruto to that one of Moi. However, Moi ruled for 24 years before he reached where Ruto has reached in less than 3 years. Hey, emotions aside, there is something there that is not quite right. There is something there that is off. Even if you're a firm supporter of this government, it took Moi at least 14 years to run the Kenyan economy to the ground. This regime, it has taken less than 3 years. Hey, there is something off there. Something that does not make sense. Let us be fair. It is also very factual that it took less than 2 years for June 25th, 2024 to happen. Yeah, that is the breaching of parliament by the Gen Zs. There is something off there. Now we agreed to put our emotions aside. So please allow me to say the following. Usually, it takes much longer than just less than 3 years to completely run an economy to the ground, where hardly anything is moving. Isn't that true? So what has happened here? What has happened? It is also true that it takes much longer than 3 years for the leader of a country to be so hated right across the country. That one, you'll not convince me, is not normal. It usually takes a longer time. It took Kenyans very many years to really start hating Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. It took many years, over a decade at the very least. And please note the following. It is not that Moi was not doing things that would provoke a backlash from the public. No! There was detention without trial. There are all sorts of funny things going on. Those muzzling of the press, etc., etc. But still, it took a long time for things to happen. So, what is different this time round? I'm sure you're now grasping why I'm saying and insisting there is something here that is very off. Something that doesn't make sense. And I hope we all realize how important it is to take note of things that don't make sense, as they're happening, in order to understand and in order to protect ourselves, from what is coming. Because definitely when something extraordinary, out of the ordinary is happening currently, then you know what is coming is a big extraordinary. In the days leading up to the death of brilliant lawyer Mutula Kilonzo Sr., we were told he was not himself. He appeared to be in deep thought. He appeared to be very unsettled. There was obviously something really bothering his mind. It goes without saying that the late Mutula Kilonzo Sr. knew that there was danger ahead. He knew that there was something coming. And he was paying attention. Although that didn't save his life. By the way, if you've not caught that ebook, Why and How Mutula was Murdered, especially the how, I advise you, please take advantage of these last few days to get hold of that ebook. It'll just shock you to your bones. Anyway, it is important to pay attention to the small details. On my show today, I want us to dive into a number of things which are unfolding in the motherland, which are just off. And then we shall conclude with a big expected event. So let's dive into it right away. Now, and please let us agree that we will not have all the answers, but at least let us take careful note of some very strange things happening in Kenya. Now, recently, under the Ruto regime, we have seen something very bizarre with our police force. They are wearing military fatigue. They are dressed exactly how the military would dress. So this begs the question, how will our military now dress? Because now the police are dressed military style. But even more important is the question, why? Why is this happening? What does it mean? And to make matters worse, this is happening at a time when the police in Kenya have gained a worldwide reputation. I believe in almost every corner of the globe now. If you go and mention to somebody who's following world events, you just mention the Kenya police, they will be scared. It is more than obvious that usalama kwa wote is now mubabaiko kwa wote. That is rather obvious. We've seen what they've done to the Gen Z. We have seen what they've done to peaceful protesters. We have seen the abductions, etc., etc. And all this has come at a time when the police have changed their dressing, at least the senior police officers, to military style fatigues. Hey, something else very strange happening. Kenyans are still turning up for maandamanos in large numbers. Now, why is that strange? Well, we all know, even if you ask a small child, we all know what is bound to happen if you go out to demonstrate. There is no guarantee that you will come back. Hakuna. There is no guarantee that you'll come back alive. But still, this has not stopped Kenyans from turning up in large numbers in these mandamanos. Hey, that defies human nature. That defies the very basic instinct of a human of self-preservation. So what is going on here? Why are Kenyans behaving like this? Why are the Gen Z behaving like this? Something else. Tribalism has suddenly vanished in Kenya. Now we have some very aggressive government bloggers who have been pushing and pushing and pushing to ensure Kenyans stick to their tribal groupings. But generally, mostly, they have failed. Which is strange, because usually Kenyans react very quickly and obediently group themselves into their tribes and start fighting against each other and completely lose track of the common enemy. And actually, they do exactly what the political class want them to do before voting, so that they vote accordingly. They vote blindly. They vote for political parties. They vote for personalities. They never bother to look at the character of the person they're voting in. Now all of a sudden, Kenyans have said no to that. And that is why today as we speak, we are all Kikuyu. Indeed, I've acquired a new name. My name is Chris Karaoke Kumekucha. Yeah? That is strange. How this tribalism monster has been crushed so quickly, so suddenly, and without warning. And yet something else. Let us agree that especially an economy like Kenya's economy, very vibrant, very diversified, and Kenyans are very hardworking, make no mistake about that one. Yeah? An economy like Kenya would take quite a bit of time to bring down. Yeah, you know, when something is strong, when something is very established, when you have very hard workers in a country, it will take you time to dismantle an economy. However, this regime has not been in power for 3 years. Yeah, we started off with that. It has not yet been in power for 3 years. And yet our economy is on its knees. Kaput! Kwisha maneno. Now, it takes a very special talent, in my opinion, a very special, gifted talent to bring down an economy that quickly. Wouldn't you agree? This is very strange. And now, let us try and look for some answers to these strange things which are off about our country. There is a growing group of critics of this government that are now saying that the whole problem is that President William Samoei Ruto underestimated, did not understand, did not fully grasp what is required to be President of the Republic of Kenya. Okay? And as a result, has been blundering all over the place. And that is why so many things have gone wrong in the country so quickly. Okay? Now, to be fair, if these critics have a point or two, this is not the first time it has happened in our history. When the third president of the Republic of Kenya, Emilio Stanley Moi Kibaki, came into the presidency, it was very obvious that he had not fully grasped what the presidency involved. And there are many, many examples to prove this point. For instance, Kibaki started off telling us that his government would have zero tolerance to corruption. And the man was serious. How do you know? There was a very super fascinating article carried by the East African shortly after Kibaki came into power, of parastatal heads, the heads of government parastatals, visiting State House with briefcases of cash. And the East African reported, President Kibaki asked them, what is this money for? Hii pesa ni ya nini? Mmeleta hii pesa State House kufanya nini? Ebu mrudi kazi. Get back to work. Rubbish. Something like that. And those of us at the time who were still keen observers then were delighted. We started dreaming of the brand new Kenya. Kumbe it had arrived with the Kibaki presidency. But then we all know that soon after that, this dream came crashing down. Yeah, it didn't really take off. Before the aircraft took off, it crashed and burnt. Okay? And we had things like the Golden Bag scandal and many other corrupt deals, yeah, that introduced into Kenya for the very first time this concept of stepping aside. Not resigning, stepping aside for investigations to be carried out. And it became very clear that this thing of zero tolerance to corruption had actually only been a story ajaba. Okay, now to be fair to Kibaki, keen observers noted that the issue here was that Kibaki did not understand just how powerful corruption was in Kenya, just how deep the roots of corruption were in government. He did not understand before he became president. And therefore, as he started running his administration, very determined to stay on the straight and narrow, he was nudged back into reality by the power of impunity and corruption, so much so that it threatened his presidency, and he had no option but to sink back into the old bad habits of a government. And so this is not happening for the first time. An individual, a Kenyan, failing to understand, despite the fact that they've been so close to government. I mean, Kibaki had been in government, had been in public life for decades, ever since that day in 1960, when Tom Mboya drove his VW, Volkswagen, all the way to Makerere University to fetch the then junior lecturer, Emilio Stanley Moi Kibaki, and to recruit him, yeah, into Kano as an executive. That was in 1960. Ever since then, Kibaki had witnessed the formation of the brand new government. Kibaki had witnessed the very creation of the office of the President of the Republic of Kenya, because you'll remember Jomo Kenyatta started off as a Prime Minister, and then when Kenya became a republic, our laws changed, our constitution changed, and for the first time we had a President of the Republic of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta. Kibaki witnessed all this. But despite all that, and by the way, Kibaki was a very sharp man. He was not the sort of man to miss things and details. But still, by the time Kibaki became president in 2002, late 2002, it soon became very clear he did not fully understand the presidency and what it meant to be President of the Republic of Kenya. And so my point was, if these critics are right about Ruto, this has happened before. But of course there is a big difference. In the case of Kibaki, he recovered and adjusted, and the presidency became a stable presidency. Well, in the case of William Samoei Ruto, that is still to happen. And indeed there seems to be plenty of evidence to support what these critics are saying about Ruto not understanding, blundering, because he does not understand what the job entails. John Badi, the CS Treasury, had a very long session recently at the Senate. And I was very shocked to discover that actually he didn't go there alone. He went to the Education Cabinet Secretary. And they told the Senate and Kenyans that actually it is not viable for the government to continue financing education in the country, and especially the free primary education that was launched by Mwai Kibaki in 2003, which has had an enormous impact on the nation called Kenya. Oh, so enormous. Well, Mbadi and his education counterpart told us we have been living a lie. The government cannot afford to fund education in the country. The response from Kenyans was predictable. There was a serious backlash. And then something very interesting happened. The government came out and said, no, we'll continue funding education. No, we value free primary education, etc., etc. Contradicting what the same government had said only the previous day through financiers John Badi. Now, I'm not sure if you realize that when a cabinet secretary speaks, he really speaks on behalf of the government. Why? Because they speak from a position of knowledge, especially knowledge on their docket, especially knowledge gained, information gained from cabinet meetings. Yeah? And therefore we can say very confidently that this idea of the government no longer being able to finance education must have come from a cabinet meeting where it was agreed by the president and his cabinet that the government would no longer finance, was finding a problem and therefore would no longer be able to finance education. So what this means is that the government changed its mind. After the backlash from the public, they turned around and said, actually, no, we can finance education. Oops, sorry, we can finance education. Bila emotions, bila favoring any side. That is how the government of Ruto is being run. You say this today, tomorrow you change your mind. You say that the following day, and then the day after that you change your mind. Now, a government cannot be run like that. Actually, a cattle dip, a small family cannot be run like that, let alone a government. You cannot come to your family today and tell them 1, 2, 3, and then come back tomorrow and tell them the opposite, and then keep on doing the same thing. That family will not run. People make mistakes. You can do it once. But if you keep on doing it repetitively, every other day, every day, that family will not be able to run, let alone run smoothly. But that is exactly how our government currently is being run. And so, let us come to the conclusion. What is the big event coming? Because there are so many small things that are off. What is the big event coming? Well, we are now at the beach. We can see that the water has vanished. The boats which are out there at sea suddenly are on the sand, marooned. They can't move because the water has vanished. The birds are no longer flying in the sky and singing the usual songs. It is very quiet. The silence is eerie. And we know for sure what is coming. Don't you? We know. Don't you? It is a huge tsunami coming. In other words, a huge political tsunami, the mother of all political tsunamis in the country called Kenya, is coming when the water comes back. And when exactly will this happen? Well, we started out by highlighting the fact that the Ruto presidency has only been around for less than 3 years. It is not yet 3 years. Actually, to be exact, the Ruto presidency so far has lasted 1,049 days only. And therefore, looking at the time frames of what has happened so far, it is pretty obvious that this big event is coming very, very soon. Indeed, I don't think we're going to reach the 3.5-year mark before this big event will be upon us. And this big event will bring major changes into the nation called Kenya. Very major. You know, the other very strange, bizarre thing that has happened, and I'm sure many of you will remember, is that the country has been involved in record-breaking borrowing. Okay? So what has been happening is that we have had record-breaking taxes on the people of Kenya. And at the same time, we have had record-breaking borrowing. But then here's the very strange, unexplained mystery. Where has all that money gone? Because now we don't have money for education. The government is struggling to pay this and that and that. Where has the money gone? Because under Uhuru Kenyatta, his presidency, we saw where the money went. That money went into a couple of mega projects, which you can still see today. And now, we have borrowed even more than what the Uhuru presidency borrowed. But there's no sign of this money. Where's the money? Where has it vanished to? And now we're even being told all funds collected from e-citizen cannot be traced. There is no sign of that money. Where has it gone? Hey! Anyway, that major event, which will be the culmination of everything that has happened in the country since that 13th day of September 2022, that one, you can be sure, it's guaranteed, you can take it to the bank, that big event is coming soon. Okay? Now, very quickly before I go, I just want to quickly remind you that many of you have already benefited from promoting whatever it is you do on this channel, from promoting the properties you have for sale on this channel. All you have to do is to sponsor a video, to get a mention, and to pass the information on to a very unique audience. Many of you have received very sensational results that you did not believe from doing this. And therefore, for a very brief period once again, we are giving you an opportunity yet again to take full advantage of this. You can see the amazing special offer rates that are available only for the next 24 hours. I'm afraid you have to make your decision quickly and move within that 24-hour period. Others will be time barred. Rush and at least book your spot even before you finalize on exactly how you're going to promote that piece of land you're selling, or even whatever product or service you want to bring to the attention of our very unique, dedicated audience. At the same time, I also want to remind you that we're almost coming to an end of the offer we have on that amazing ebook, How and Why Mutula Kilonzo Sr. was murdered. It has a lot of details, a lot of information that will make your eyes pop. Okay? And of course, I've also thrown in at least one special report, the one that shocked the audience the most. Yeah. And so when you order this ebook for only Kenya shillings 499 only, you'll also be able to get this special report completely for free. And then you also have the opportunity, if you want, to choose the specific special report that you want to go along this ebook. Yeah, therefore take action quickly. We only have very few days before we bring this offer to a close. I believe you can see details on your screens right now on exactly what you need to do. And also, we're coming to the end of the season to gift Chris Kumekucha. You can see the details on your screens right now. I thank so much those who have responded. Asanteni sana for loving me enough and for loving your country enough. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.